Hi folks, welcome once again to Mr. H's weekly recap where we try to give you a rundown of what's happening in room 1925 and what's going on as far as our courses here in the classroom are concerned. Before we get started talking about what's going on with the students, a couple reminders, mostly for the benefit of parents. Next week on Thursday and Friday, March 9th and 10th, we have conferences here at the high school. You've probably seen the letter that's been circulated, both from the district administration but also from myself as far as how that's going to be working and where you can sign up for a time and an opportunity to sit down and talk with me for a 15-minute session. Just a reminder to please get those letters in by the end of the week, by Friday. We have them online. We have them in hard copy form out to your students, so please ask your students about that. The other item is just kind of, again, you can sign up electronically for a time with me using You Can Book Me, and that link is available on that letter and also on the website. If you have any questions, please feel free to email. And just again, a reminder of the schedule. Thursday the 9th is going to be a half day, so students will be here in the morning, and then we will have conferences in the afternoon. Students will be leaving around 11. And then Friday is a full day conference day. As long as I don't have a previously scheduled commitment, I am available, and you can see all those times, what's available, what's not available, on the You Can Book Me site. The other item I wanted to throw out, kind of more bookkeeping, is we recently passed midterm, so you should be getting progress reports in the mail. Also, the last day of March is also the end of the marking period, so we're encouraging students to start look at the portal now, look at those missings, what's there, what's not there, what do they have to make up, and also encourage your students to be vigilant. As we get down to the end of the wire here, we'll try to keep the portal updated, but they definitely need to stay on top of what's there and what's not there. And if they have stuff in the classroom that needs to be turned in, turn it in. If they need to make up a test, a quiz, come to me and we'll set up a time and we'll get them taken care of. Let's talk a little bit about the Gov class. This week we're kind of transitioning from the econ portion of our course to more of the politics and Gov side of our course. We're starting our elections unit where we talk about, party ideology, political parties, election rules, history, a little bit of voting rights, and also campaign finance, mass media, and public opinion. So all that kind of looped into a discussion of the current election cycle as well. Students started this week with a discussion of political parties. We talked a little party ideology, defining what's a liberal, what's a conservative, and kind of, what's a moderate, kind of how these terms work in our greater political structure. Students in my third block class are working on what's called a paper slide video, and basically what that is, they created panels, and what we're going to have is basically kind of a little bit of a video that goes along with kind of addressing the question of, the divide right now is so great between kind of the polar extremes of our political spectrum. How do we go about addressing kind of that middle ground, the lack of a middle ground, and how could we maybe better our political cycle in that sense? So that'll be coming up here soon. Look for that on social media and look for that on our website. The other item, which both classes are going to be getting into, is a look at a little bit of a documentary called Big Sky, Big Money, which is a frontline documentary from PBS. Basically looks at the issue of campaign finance, these things that have been reported in the media quite a bit, super PACs and 501c4s, faceless money that's being dumped into politics. Kind of an interesting topic and debate starter. So we'll be looking at that. Third block, we'll be starting that before the week is out, and first block, we'll be delving into that probably a little bit next week before we have conference days. For the world history class, we're starting the finishing up process of Unit 1. Right now we're covering absolutism and the monarchs, and we're basically doing kind of a round the world look at some of the absolute monarchs from the Ottoman Empire in North Africa and the Middle East, to the British monarchy, to the czars of Russia, to dynasties in China and feudal Japan. All that stuff's kind of getting looped into our wrap-up of Unit 1. Next week, students are going to start looking at a review activity using a site called Coggle, which is a mind mapping site, and they're going to start bringing together a lot of the pieces of information we've looked at, kind of drawing some comparisons and some conclusions with that, but also something that can help them study for our unit exam, which right now we're looking at March 17th as the possibility of that. Students will probably be getting a rubric here before the week is out for kind of studying purposes, a study guide. Pardon me for using the wrong educational terminology there. And also on Monday coming up, we have our first DBQ essay that's due, so encourage your students to take a look at that. That will be submitted through Google Classroom, and then I'll be spending the very dubious task of reading your students' writing, commenting, highlighting, making suggestions, and then getting all that back to them, hopefully in a quick fashion, so that we can maybe do a little rewriting and a little bit of post-writing discussion. Moving forward, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Charter Week is going to be here, which is kind of a celebration of our state's birthday. We're going to be doing some stuff with that in the Gov classes. And then for the honors class, we have kind of some guest speakers coming in. Earlier, we talked about Dr. Donald Grable, who was a professor at Eatown College, coming in to kind of provide a little bit of an exclamation point on our study of the Reformation. Later this month, we're going to have Dr. Brian Newman, who's an expert on French history, particularly the French Revolution. So we're going to have him in probably before the month is out to discuss the French Revolution and some of the impacts of some of the topics we're going to get into in Unit 2. Also with the Gov classes, we have some guest speakers set up when it comes to some of our public officials, our local reps here, Dave Hinkernell of the PA House and Senator Ament of the Ryan Ament of the PA Senate are guests and have been repeated guests in our classroom, so we might see them come in. We're also going to have kind of one of the lone Democrats in our state government. We're pretty Republican heavy, so we try to get both sides represented. Commissioner Craig Lehman, who kind of helps run our county as well. So look for those things and more info of that coming up. If you have any questions, please feel free to email, try to get in touch with me that way, and we hope to see you guys again next week.